So the other day I was sitting there on Twitter, like I do probably way too much, and I noticed this tweet. Now, unfortunately, I didn't screen cap this tweet, so I'm just going to go ahead and make a new one and put it right here. And as you can see, it said, "Hey, Triple H, it'd be cool if you brought back champions versus champions at Survivor Series." And then there's this little picture of Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar from Survivor Series 2018. That was one of Bryan's first matches back. It was an awesome match. Of course, he lost that, but that's neither here nor there. That got me thinking when I saw this tweet, how cool would it be to ask the friendos out there what you guys want to see Triple H bring back? And then I got my own ideas as to what I want to see Triple H bring back now that he's in charge. And I sort of threw them all into a pot, and I came up with 10 things I'd like to see Triple H bring back to WWE. Thanks, by the way, for all the suggestions on that particular community thread, because I asked you guys what you want to see brought back, and you guys responded in a major way. I might also do a list of 10 things I have no desire to see him bring back based on a lot of your suggestions. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and dive into this. And if you guys want some credit for having suggested a lot of these, thank you. You in the thread. Let's dive into it. First up, I want to see brand warfare come back. Remember back in 2016, I think it was, when they did that really cool brand versus brand thing at Survivor Series? They did that for a couple of years running in 2017. I think Triple H ended up being the last man standing or something for Team Raw, where basically the entire match, he made a mockery of the whole thing. I'd like to bring that back. I really think that with Aldis and Pierce being a couple of really strong general managers, hell, even with Ava around as a strong general manager for NXT, I think it'd be a lot of fun if we brought back the Bragging Rights pay-per-view where we can engage in some brand warfare. It doesn't have to be at Survivor Series. They seem intent on keeping that all about the War Games. However, I still think brand warfare is a cool idea, especially if, just like we saw with this year's draft, they're not going to make huge wholesale changes to the roster year over year. That way, once you build up a bit of an identity as a brand over a couple of years, once you do brand warfare, the loyalty actually makes a lot of sense. The loyalty to the brand actually makes a lot of sense. Think about it. You can have Nick Aldis cobble together a team of people from SmackDown who don't already have matches at that particular premium live event, and Pierce can do the same thing, and they could do the traditional Survivor Series thing, which is the next thing I want Triple H to bring back: traditional Survivor Series elimination matches. This obviously would have to be at Survivor Series because it's a Survivor Series type match. We know that. But I think it'd be really cool if he brought back the Elimination Survivor Series match, except add stakes to it. That's right. Every time you do one of these big matches that's, for example, a brand versus brand situation, there should be stakes involved. So whether you do it at a Bragging Rights or you just do the elimination match at Survivor Series, how cool would it be if maybe the winning team gets the top pick in the draft? They're trying to vie for whoever gets the most premium talent in that year's draft pool. I think that'd be really cool to bring back the elimination match. Back in the day, for example, I think it was Team Cena versus Team Authority, and Dolph Ziggler ended up being the last man standing, and that was kind of cool. I really like that. They had a good story leading into that match, just like they usually shoehorn War Games matches around November for Survivor Series War Games. I think it'd be really fun if they found a way to shoehorn stories into that same premium live event for Survivor Series. Or it's just a matter of, hey, guess what? Triple H says that the first draft pick is on the line. So Aldis has to get his best guys. Pierce has to get his best guys. So yeah, brand warfare, Survivor Series elimination, all that shit. And a bunch of you in that thread I talked about also want that as well. So that's 2 entries down. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. All right, so this one's a little bit out of left field, but I'm talking about ECW One Night Stand. Let's bring that back as a yearly pay-per-view, because I think that'd be really cool. The 2005 and 2006 editions were absolutely outstanding. And yes, I understand it's because most of the ECW originals were A, available, and B, had functional hips. Not a lot of those guys left. RVD still wrestles, Bully Ray still wrestles, Tommy Dreamer still wrestles, and I think maybe Sabu maybe still wrestles. I think maybe. But beyond that, there's not a whole lot of ECW originals left. That doesn't matter to me. This is what you do. Number one, of course, you put it in the Hammerstein. It's a great venue, hot crowd. Bring back that old ECW crowd, many of whom probably don't have functional hips either. And you tried your best to get that atmosphere, that unpredictable, edgy atmosphere. Maybe even if you put it on Peacock, they give it a rated TV MA or something like that. And they allow wrestlers to say things like fuck and shit and motherfucker, things like that. Also, you bring back Joey Styles to do commentary, and Paul Heyman gets his ECW cap, he gets his leather coat, his headphones, and his giant phone, and he cuts one of those awesome promos, kind of like he did at the Hall of Fame ceremony, to be honest with you. You get him to do that. You bring back some ECW originals, either to participate as wrestlers, which is probably a little less desirable, or just sort of like masters of ceremony, if you will. And then you get, or maybe the ECW originals can choose their proxies to fight out of the current WWE roster. While we're bringing back defunct brands, might as well bring back WCW. I did an entire video on this like 2 days ago, which you guys should check out right now. I don't know, man. I feel like another brand, a WCW Nitro show on Wednesday nights on Netflix. I'm kind of down with that. You know, Eric Bischoff is available. Kevin Nash is sitting around just doing his podcast. Bring him out. A couple of those guys to be like the WCW booking committee. You could bring back the NWO in some way, shape, or form. Move the LWO over to WCW. You make LA Knight the champion. I would watch that shit. If they just kept it to like 1 or 2 hours on a Wednesday night, I mean, I'd have to fit it around my Dynamite schedule, obviously, but I don't know. It could be fun. It could tickle the nostalgia bone. Maybe tell your stories in a slightly different way than they do on main roster to more accurately reflect how they used to tell that stuff on the old Nitros. Obviously, Sting won't do it and Ric Flair won't do it, but I don't know. Maybe they can bring back Big Papa Pump Scott Steiner. Probably not Rick Steiner, but Scott Steiner maybe. Braun Breaker could absolutely be a WCW Nitro guy. I don't know. I'm just sort of throwing ideas out there. I think it'd be kind of fun to have another WWE brand. Yet another thing for me to have to watch and review. Might not be a good idea now that I think about it. All right, who wouldn't want the Evolution Premium Live event to come back? That first Evolution was really cool. A lot of people really wanted to see a second one, and then the WWE just never did it. But my God, that roster is huge. The women's roster is absolutely massive. And at that last Premium Live event, they didn't even have a women's world title match defense on there. Bayley got to defend hers at Clash of the Castle, and they gave Liv Morgan a title defense on the Raw Go Home to that last show. So I don't know. I kind of feel like if they're going to do these Premium Live events that are only like 5 matches long, and half the time they're going to cut out a women's world title match, maybe give them their own pay-per-view so that you can get a bunch of really cool matches and celebrate the women's division over there, because I don't know, I kind of feel like even the way they do use them, they're not really used enough. And I think that they do need to relieve some of that pressure of getting more matches in, getting more title defenses in, getting more feuds going. I don't think anybody would complain if there was another Evolution PLE on the WWE schedule. All right, this is one that a lot of you guys wanted. Jim Johnston, CFO $, whatever it takes to get Def Rebel out of there, because they're not very good. They have some decent themes that they have done in the past. Braun Breaker's most recent theme, I think, is actually pretty damn good. But let's face it, nobody's on the level of Jim Johnston, and really nobody's on the level of CFO $. I think they're both great. I know it's CFOs. Larson and I had a long-standing joke where we call it CFO $. The CFOs, Jim Johnston, I don't care which one. Bring back Jim Johnston for Raw and CFOs for SmackDown, or vice versa. How about that? And then Def Rebel, maybe they could just keep them on NXT. And when somebody comes up to main roster, if they have a universally praised theme song, keep it. If they have a stinker, then do a new one. Kind of like they did with Braun Breaker, because his was terrible. So yeah, they got to do that. While we're talking about entrance themes, I'd also love for them to bring back, and a lot of you wanted this one, Tron videos, their entrance theme video packages with actual highlight reels that are a bit more inventive, a bit more imaginative. Even AEW at this point has just sort of relegated to like the name that moves around a little bit. I remember when AEW first started and they had the video package for the Best Friends, and it was just wildly hilarious and creative. And then they kind of just don't do that anymore. It's just very sort of static. bring back the highlight reel Videotron packages, add a little bit of personality to that. I think that would be all kinds of awesome. And while we're at it, ditch Def Rebel, go with Jim Johnston and or CFOs. That's like the biggest thing that you guys wanted in that thread is a revamp of the entrance theme music and the entrance theme video. All right, so a lot of you asked for custom pay-per-view sets, and this is kind of interesting because your boy has a little bit of insider knowledge here. When I went to go visit, me and Larson took a trip down to the WWE Archive, the big warehouse they have there for one of the 2K events back when we were in 2K's good graces. They brought us out there to test the game, but it was set, they actually had all the game, like the game stations were set up there at the WWE warehouse. So Larson and I went, and we got a tour of the warehouse. And so we got to see the SmackDown Big Fist. We got to see a bunch of the sets from the various pay-per-views back in the day. And the thing that was explained to us is these look like dog shit when they're in high def. When you're sitting there watching like an 80-inch screen TV in like, crystal clear 4K or whatever it is, they just don't look very good. And so that's why they stopped doing them. I don't necessarily care about the custom sets. I know a lot of you wanted to see that. That's not really something that I mind. That being said, it would be nice if Raw and SmackDown had more of a tactile, tangible set. The SmackDown Fist, that arc thing they had just like pre-pandemic, like I think it started either in 2016 or 2019. I think it was 2019 when they started the new SmackDown show. Or they changed networks to Fox, I think it was. I liked that. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. Raw, yeah, do something. Even that skateboard ramp was kind of cool that they had that one time. Yeah, like just stuff there is kind of neat. Those arches that they had before, the big circle one before that they had back in the 90s. I don't know. I kind of care about more that with like the weekly show as opposed to having to be on the pay-per-views. So that'd be nice to bring back. All right, there's just a couple more, and we're going to start this last batch off with new opening theme songs for Raw and SmackDown. They got these which I don't even, they even use them all that much anymore? They've got these sort of very mellow hip hop jams that they put at the beginning of Raw and SmackDown. I hated the AC/DC one back for SmackDown a while ago, but they don't get you hyped up. They don't get you amped up like those old new metal themes do. I'm not opposed to hip hop. I love hip hop, but if you're going to do it something more that's like up tempo, that has like a sense of urgency. Like, I don't know, Public Enemy's Fight the Power, Public Enemy's Welcome to the Terror Dome, or I don't know, any other Public Enemy song for that matter. Give me something that like gets me amped up, that gets the blood going, that gets gets your juices flowing. That sounds a little on the sexual side. That's not what I meant. But I want something that's going to get me jacked up in order to watch Monday Night Raw or SmackDown. You sit down for Monday Night Raw, it's like, hey, this is going to be a 3-hour commitment. So you better get me excited to sit there for all 3 hours. And that all has to, and that the only way to do that is a big old new metal theme. Doesn't have to be new metal. I think new metal's trash, to be honest with you, but it really works for pro wrestling. I'm going to move on before I get myself in trouble. Next up, bring back the Mixed Match Challenge. You guys remember this shit on Facebook? This was so much fun, largely because it seemed to kind of exist outside of WWE's canon. Like Miz and Asuka were a pair, and they were just clowning around the whole time. You had Charlotte and Bobby Roode teaming up just because they both wore robes out to the ring, and then Charlotte's partners kept on getting injured, so they just cycled through a bunch of different people. You had, Bayley and Finn Balor together. You had Sami Zayn and Becky Lynch together. The little skits they would film for these were hilarious. They were so much fun because it looked like the wrestlers, for once, were having fun working for Vince McMahon. They need to bring that back. And even if it's not within the context of the Mixed Match Challenge, they should bring back that sort of atmosphere of just having a good time and not giving a shit about telling stories or anything. I'd love to see that, whether it's on Facebook. I guess they already have a Twitter show. So what other social media thing can they use? I don't know. Your YouTube specific channel, where YouTube's not going to pay them any money. I don't know. Truth Social. Move on. All All right, this last one is a very Steve-centric thing, and that's custom titles. I want them to bring back custom titles for certain people who really sort of deserve it. For example, Cody Rhodes, who spent all that time trying to finish his goddamn story. He finally did, and he's got to carry around that mustard title. Well, what if he was able to bring back the Winged Eagle? Or if not the Winged Eagle, something that sort of melded the Winged Eagle and the current network logo title into a thing. I follow this Instagram account called WWE AI Art. And they use AI art, so it's probably not good. But they do on a regular basis show off these AI created championship titles. And I know AI art, it's not a good thing. But goddamn, some of these titles look really cool. Check out this Jey Uso Yeet title. I'm sorry, but when Jey Uso wins that world title, they better let him use this Yeet title because it's pretty rad. I would love to see them get custom titles back. I think about Stone Cold Smoking Skull title, the Jeff Hardy TNA one, which was kind of ugly to be honest with you. But then, of course, John Cena had the Spinner title. Edge had his own lame version of the Spinner title, the Rated R title. I love custom titles. I love titles. I love more titles. And I think WWE should do even more because then they can sell them at WWEshop.com. So there, everybody wins, including me. Anyways, so that's what I want to see Triple H bring back. I know a lot of you have already probably answered that question in that community thread, but if you didn't get a chance to, or if you just want to reiterate it, that's fine. Leave your suggestions in the comments below. Maybe I'll do another video reading them. I might do another video where I just talk about the things that I don't want to see come back, but you guys do from that thread. Anyways, hey, do me a solid. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. We'll see you guys around.